Barbara, let me put that question to you. What's the overall significance of this?
Well, it's incredibly significant for a number of reasons. One is Fani Willis doesn't have to go to trial next week. She's secured a conviction, and she has removed any risk of an acquittal by a jury. But also, she avoids having to show her hand with a preview trial before the other defendants go to trial. So that's big. But of course, the most significant reason this is such a win for Fani Willis is to have the testimony and the cooperation of Kenneth Chesebro. He, more than any of these other defendants, I think, is such a key to all of this because he was the architect of the fake electors scheme. And so in addition to admitting to committing a crime by conspiring to do that, today he has also provided a recorded proffer of his testimony. That testimony can help her to convict some of the other people involved in this case, including John Eastman, including Donald Trump.
Let's talk about that a little bit, Andrew. The idea that he's got to provide things. They've got a lot of stuff already between the January 6th prosecution and the Fani Willis Georgia prosecution. They got a lot of stuff connecting all of these folks. What is it, if you are Donald Trump, what are you most worried about right now?
Well, what you don't know with respect to Mr. Chesebro is what exactly he will say. He's got an obligation to testify truthfully, and if he doesn't, he can go to jail. Right? His deal is that he gets probation if he testifies truthfully. And he will have evidence with respect to co-conspirators. He may not have direct evidence against Donald Trump, but he has direct evidence against Rudy Giuliani and John Eastman. If I am one of the two of them, this is not a good day because they are both reported to be unindicted co-conspirators in the federal case. They're indicted conspirators in the Georgia case, and there now is somebody with direct evidence who can testify against them. And as Barb said, what he has pled to, unlike what Sidney Powell pled to, is something that is core to the January 6th scheme. He has now admitted, as part of his guilty plea, that he was part of a scheme to defraud the voters of Georgia to overturn their votes in the presidential election.
That is central to the Georgia indictments. Amy Lee Copeland, I think we got you back. We fixed the issue. Let me ask you about everybody involved in the Georgia case has tried everything they can do to either sever their case or get it moved to federal court or do it early. Now there are a whole bunch of people who are going to go to trial. What does the fact that this has happened in the last few days mean for the rest of that trial?
Well, Allie, as Barb mentioned, this is great. The DA now does not have to show her case to the other 16 defendants who remain to be tried. So there's going to be an element of surprise there. It's a lot easier to hit a tennis ball if your opponent says, I'm shooting this at your forehand cross court. The DA doesn't have that situation right now. So she's got that. She's also got people who are involved in the scheme and who can give light to documents and to shed a personal touch on the emails. She's got a really interesting set of cooperators. We, of course, know about Chesebro and Powell. We've talked a lot about them. But let's not underestimate Scott Hall, the bail bondsman who pleaded guilty first. When you look at what he's done, he's in act number 4 beginning in November of 2020, when he's actually talking to campaign folks about getting something together in Georgia. You see him at the end in the Coffee County scheme, but he has a 63-minute call to Jeffrey Clark during the middle of it. And he's also in this strange, very hurried telephone exchange about the threats to the poll workers. So she has 3 really interesting cooperators, 2 of whom, whose merits seem pretty obvious pretty quickly. And then you've got the bail bondsman who just seem to be in a lot of places all at once and dealing with a lot of people. Do
you think this results in more cooperators?
I think so, especially since Powell and Chesebro have pleaded guilty. They are breaking the cone of silence there. They're coming forward. And they are showing that it's, I guess it's fine to stand up and look out for yourself in this whole situation.